guys, Brady from Pathmaker Productions, out in the shop again today. Still don't have a tea case, but I'm picking one up on Saturday. Got to go meet my buddy Donnie at the ferry. He's got one coming over for me, so I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to swing by my other buddy Dustin's shop, Backdoor Fab, and he's got a new mount that captures all of the output bolts and both sides of my Dana 300. I also designed a new cover, sent it to him. He was going to cut it out, so I'm going to pick up those two things on Saturday as well. Sunday I'll be back trying to get the tea cases back together, so I can hopefully go wheeling next week. But on that note, still don't have my tea case, so working on other projects. Did the one bump stop the other day. I might get to bump stop number 2 today, but because I have the attention span of a squirrel, I got some cool stuff in the mail, and I'm going to work on that instead. I've been planning for a while to yank out the stock Nissan console, which is what I still have in that thing, where the e-brake comes up. Of course, I don't have an e-brake on it. My 4 switches are there, lights, onboard air, winch. That gets bumped all the time. I'll show you what it looks like. Horrible location. There's a stupid little cubby alcove in behind it, but when you're wheeling, your stuff just falls out of it all the time because it doesn't have a lid. I went and mounted an inverter, a 400 watt inverter underneath it. So I do have 110 power in my console, but either way, it was time to get it to go. So I picked up a minty fresh 50 cal ammo can the other day. I actually got another one still full. That one's still full of sand, so clearly went over in the sandbox somewhere. I figure I'm going to make it out of this. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's about the right size. It'll fit between the seats. I guess my plan, I went on Amazon and picked up one of these switch panels, 60 bucks. Didn't realize that all of the numbers or names were painted on there, so I'm gonna have to scrape them off or something like that. I make my own decals, so I will fix those. It's got a 212 volt or USB plugs, voltage, and it's got a 9 volt. It was like 60 bucks. Looks actually pretty decent. It's a metal cover. They're all lit up switches. My plan is to mount it in here. Today we're gonna build a little bit of a shelf, and then we're gonna mount this thing kind of like that. It's gonna sit between the seats. When I have it like that, it'll give me enough room that I can mount my inverter underneath it. And so what we'll have is a little shelf that runs in there. Inverter underneath, so I'll have 2 110 plugs. I'll have these USBs, and I'll have all my switches. So I can close the lid, don't have to worry about the switches getting flipped on or off. And I've got this much room left. Probably going to put a little bit of foam in there, and I can charge my GoPros, my camera batteries, can toss my cell phone in there, close the water sealed lid. It's not going anywhere. So that's what's on the list to work on today. But here's my console. God, can you believe I sprayed this thing for 2 hours? Apparently, if you run a car wash, don't hire me, because I am horrible. That said, I just actually run the pressure washer right inside the rig. The seats are still wet. So yeah, this is the thing I was talking about. Stupid little cubby. My switch is here. This big dumb hole, it just doesn't really work. The ammo can is going to sit right about here. Never even thought about the fact that I'm going to lose my shift pattern decal. I might have to remake it, put it on top of the ammo can, something like that. Step 1, we're going to yank this console out, take another look. I'm going to bitch and moan about all of the dirt and grubbiness. If I was real smart, maybe I'd even take this seat out, but nah, that just seems way too well thought out. Another thing that's not too great about this is the fact that my swinging door bars, which I really love, I bent the hell out of them. As you can see, this real beautiful curve here. I and the pin didn't hold anymore to keep the door shut, so I ended up burning a weld in just to hold it. I gotta go out see my buddy and buy a couple more sticks of pipe, and then I will cut it all off. But for now, means I have to lean over my door bars to get all this going. You bastard. Oh, a little bit of grit in there. These are Toyota Supra seats. No idea the year. My buddy Alex just gave them to me, but they're a hell of a lot better than the stock Nissan seats that were falling apart. And with the headrest the way they are, I can run the harness through, which works really well. There we go. Here's my the inverter I was talking about. 2 plugs out the back. I picked this one because it has an on-off switch right there, and also these are attached by wires, so I was just able to pop the faceplate off, cut a hole, and extend the wires a little bit. I didn't even have to extend the wires, they just were long enough. Yeah, you like my wiring? It's a beauty. Labeled everything now because I never did years ago. I got these fancy little tags from my buddy who was a cable guy. Not mentioning any names. Shop supplies. Surprisingly, I use different colors for them and everything. Yet I use things like black for hot, red for another hot, white. We're not even going to worry about it. Let's go grab that ammo can right now. Bang! You almost need the 2 of them. Look at how much room for activities. It's almost like I measured it. But I'm guessing switches back here. We're going to put that inverter back underneath again. And in fact, I'm probably just going to use these 2 stock Nissan holes right there. And I'll figure something out for the back. Looks like I can take that crap all out. I'll just make a little standoff or something off of here. Couple tabs, and Don's your uncle. It's gonna be good. I didn't even look that much into this before I started planning it and filming here today, so I'm stoked that fits so well. And I might even look into cutting these handles off so I can put my shift pattern decal back here, because I don't really need this handle at all, so I might just go snippy snippy. Oh, I'm stoked. This is gonna look good. Onwards and upwards. To clean up the Dana 300 tears all over my damn workbench with my old sock. Things are glamorous around here, guys. Thankfully, the old Dana 300 tears 80-90 gear oil doesn't light on fire very easily, because otherwise I'd be lighting shit up all the time. Here's to give you a bit of a better idea how I mounted the inverter. Apparently it's 375 watts. I just had to cut a hole, 4 little holes. I was able to pop this panel off, and because it's all wires in there, and just sandwich the inverter back together in there, and ran a hot wire and a ground and worked mint. So the plan here is going to be to slam this right down inside here. Of course, I'm going to drill some holes so these will run out the bottom. So this is going to sit down there and sandwich the plate. Then this is going to sit above it, right about there. So that will leave me, you can see, 3 inches of space for assorted stuff. So time to look into my disaster world. Oh, nice, rusty, jagged edges. That's got my name written all over it. There's my steel. Just have to dig past the old piles of bed frame there, which Island Spec approved angle iron for all of you cheap bastards like me. If you need angle iron, look for old bed frames. There's probably 2 or 3 bed frames in my rig, just because it's good cheap angle iron. I see them at the in the metal bin, grab them, bring them home, toss them in the pile, and yeah, there's a couple of them right there. Here's my shelf laid out. This will be the top with my panel, bending it, and here will be the plugs for the inverter. I'll fasten this in there somehow, so I think I will probably lay out and cut just a couple little tabs off here so I can bend them over and probably tack a nut to them, in fact, and then I can just screw a bolt in from the outside, which seems the smartest. Now you can see why I was talking about different grinder wrenches the other day, because typically you end up with 4 grinders, one for grinding, one for wire wheeling, one for flapper, one for cutting, unless you want to keep switching back and forth all the goddamn time. I hate the rigid one. It's horrible, stupid trigger. Honestly, the best of the best are the cheap Makita ones. Either way, I use a flapper the least, so flapper goes on the crappy Home Depot rigid one. I was just about to bend it, and then I realized I'm going to regret that because it'll be a pain to drill the holes. So it's way easier to drill the holes while the steel's flat, and I can just buzz them all off, and then we're going to do a bit of bending. I already cleaned up all the edges with the flapper wheel, so it's no longer such a jagged thing. Both my panels fit. Time to drill some holes. So just using the old poor man's brake here. Some shoe pliers and a vise. I scored the cut with this angle grinder, but I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't have. Oh, that looks good. Moment of truth here. First test fit goes mint. So 6 panels, plug in below, enough room. I'm actually really stoked with that. So I'm going to drill a couple holes in the can to mount it, a couple holes in the bottom for wires. I'll put some grommets and make some mounting brackets for it, but I'm mostly done on this one. It's not going to be too hard to finish it up from here, so super stoked on the way that's turning out. I'm going to tack a couple nuts on this back here and tack a couple nuts down here, figure out how to mount it in the rig, and then after that just a big hole and a grommet for all the electrical stuff, and I'm moving onwards and upwards. Scabbed up a rear mount out of random stuff I had laying around, and the old mounts, because they got the nice screw thread things to stock. So I'm just gonna have to go weld this into the rig. Okay, so I got her welded in. Wasn't much, I just still hot. Burn that in. There's my rear 2 mounts. This is gonna be my ground post. Front 2 mounts. Here's all my big mass of wires, and that's gonna line up right there. Alright guys, well I got this thing in bolted up. Don't have all the wires run yet. You can see my big rat's nest here still. I gotta change a couple things. I was waiting on the UPS guy, hoping my rock lights would show up today, but they did not. So I holding off on rewiring some of that anyways. But this thing's bolted in. It's killer size and looks pretty mint. I you know, hit all my switches and got my 9-volt, my USBs. I got enough depth in there that they can close, and I got my inverter down below, and so I'll be able to easily lift it out, work on some wires if I need, and most importantly, I've got enough space here for random charging, assorted crap out of my pockets and everything like that. So still have a little bit of usable console space, but have the majority of the stuff bolted up in there. So I'm stoked on that. I'm going to pull this back out, and as much as I like the old rusty patina, I'll throw some black paint on the panel itself, because it is steel, so it will rust just from sitting out in the weather here, and figure out a bit more of the wiring. It's going to work out well. For the ground, I'll just tie into one of the mounting bolts, and then I got my power lights, winch, onboard air, rock lights, everything run right there. A couple of them are a little short, so I'm gonna have to see if I can come up with a bit more slack. Stoked on how this turned out. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Got this all in. I'm gonna pull it quickly apart, throw a bit of paint on it, and then I'm gonna run some wires. I'm not gonna bother filming all that, partially because my wiring skills are horrible. Secondly, it's boring. Once I get it all working, I'll show it lit up once in one of our later videos here, probably. In the meantime, I'm going to grab that T-case on Saturday and throw it back in. So stay tuned. I will be back out in the shop again real soon, and you'll get to see me doing a bit more fabbing, a bit more wrenching, and hopefully not too many more of these videos before I get back out on the trail. I'm finishing up my assorted list of crap to do, so should be good. I see my level meter broke. It's useless anyways. Anyone want to buy a level meter? I'm just telling you right now, this one goes 40 degrees each way. While it was bone stock, I'd gone 40 degrees each way, front to back, left to right. 40 degrees, nothing. So it's pointless.